Our last unit for the year is Unit 9, and it has to do with rational expressions and rational equations. And just like when we had rational exponents, that means that there's a fraction. In the case of rational expressions, you have a rational expression that has a variable in the denominator. So that's what defines it as being a rational expression and not just a regular fraction. So we'll simplify the expressions and we'll solve some equations. The first lesson is just simplifying expressions. So first we'll factor. We just finished a factoring unit, or factoring was part of Unit 8. And then find excluded values. And what I mean by that is I need to make sure my denominator isn't 0. So I exclude any values that would make the denominator be 0. And then I reduce my fraction. I cancel factors. I never, ever, never cancel terms. Ever. I cancel common factors to reduce. So those are our rules. And then here's a little image to help you remember, we don't ever divide by 0. You can have a 0 in the numerator, that's okay, but you do not have a 0 in the denominator. So if you want to make yourself a little note. Please write this problem down, this expression. This is how we will simplify. This is a rational expression because there's a variable in the denominator. It's made of polynomials, a ratio of polynomials. So I'm going to factor these two terms. I want to know what's the common term, the greatest common factor of the numerator and the denominator. So I would say greatest common factor is going to be 2m to the third. So for the numerator, I'll factor out 2m to the third and write what I have left. And in the denominator also, I'll factor out 2m to the third and write what I have left, which will be 9m squared in the numerator and 5 in the denominator. I need to make sure that I exclude anything that would make the denominator be 0. So I'll exclude when 2m to the third equals 0. I don't need to worry about 5 equal to 0. That isn't possible. But if I solve this little simple equation, this happens, I can divide by 2 and take the cube root, but there's only way for 2m to the third power to be 0 is if m is 0. So I can't let m be 0. That's my excluded value. You can write it like this: exclude 0. Okay, and then I reduce. So I'll cancel the common factors, which are 2m to the third, and that leaves 9m squared over 5. And this is equivalent as long as m is not 0. I have another example. Please write this one down. I'll have to factor my numerator, and I'll also have to factor my denominator first. So for the numerator, I need to find factors that will add up to be -2 and multiply together to be 1 times -3, so -3. This would be -3 times 1. So I can factor my numerator as x minus 3 and x plus 1. Okay, then I'll factor my denominator. I need factors that multiply to be factors of 4, that if I add them, I get a sum of 5. So that's 4 plus 1. So my factors for the denominator will be x plus 4, let me get that from here, and x plus 1, which is from here. My common factor is x plus 1. But before I reduce this fraction, canceling the common factors, I need to know what to exclude. I'll have to exclude whatever makes x plus 4 equal to 0. So x cannot be equal to -4. And whatever makes x plus 1 equal to 0. So if either one of these factors were 0, then my denominator would be 0. And as I said, we can't divide by 0, so that's not allowed. So I solve these two very simple problems. I will exclude -4 and -1. Okay. Then I can reduce. So I'll cancel my common factors. You cannot cancel these x's. You can't cancel common terms. Only common factors. So it has to be the whole group. And I can reduce my fraction then and rewrite as x minus 3 over x plus 4. That's simplified, as long as I exclude these two values.